In our days, it is not difficult to see that Europe is facing great challenges. The fall of America is being foretold by American writers and wise citizens. It is full of corruption. I remember reading an article years ago how a senator, while speaking on the podium about the obvious decay of the American youth, he fainted. He was overcome by the pain and the agony while contemplating on the self-destruction of his country's youth. We could easily say that today this corruption is threatening the fall of the entire world. East and West has adopted the element of immorality and corruption. Humanity is beginning to rot to the core, preparing itself to be conquered by the Antichrist. What are the obvious criteria that specify the fall of nations such as the old Babylon and Rome? Atheism and immorality. The laws of the meaning of ethics caused by the abundance of luxury. Here is the criterion of decadence. The merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of the luxury of Babylon the Great, the harlot. The words abundant luxury are used to translate the word strinos, a very rare and difficult word of the New Testament Greek. This word most accurately expresses the state of today's humanity. It refers to the arrogance of lifestyle, to luxury, to abundance of material goods, and to the waste of God's resources. A second meaning to the word strinos refers to drunkenness from sexual immorality, lust of the flesh, hedonism, gratification, a burning desire to gratify the lower instincts of the flesh. This word is used in the beautiful hymn of Cassiani, the hymnographer, on Holy Tuesday night about the harlot who came to Christ full of repentance. And I believe St. Paul uses the same word when he writes to the Corinthians about the widows. The young widows need to remarry because when this strinos takes place, when they fall captive to the lower instincts, then it is best for them to be married than to be by themselves, and of course, having been unable to control themselves, then sinful desires take over. So the elements that determine the fall of all nations are running rampant in today's international community. Atheism, immorality, the absence of all ethics, and the general drunkenness, the need to consume, the drunkenness to consume everything in sight. The arrogant lifestyle and the craze to possess every luxury, from the latest model of luxurious automobile to vacation homes, fine cigars. The constant need to spend, to taste, to feel, and purchase and discard. The age of consumerism, abundant goods and services, pre-announces the fall of today's world communities. The voice of the angel who called out, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great," is once again a prophetic aorist, indicating that it is in the process of fall. The prophecy foresaw its fall more than 3 centuries prior to its destruction by Ulrich and other northern Germanic and Frankish tribes during 410 AD. This will be the lot of every Babylon Rome in history who takes a stand against God and his kingdom. The fall of Babylon-Rome does not simply empty it from its once brisk activities, but it makes it a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every legally unclean, flesh-eating, and hated bird, according to the text. It was the perception of Judaic tradition that a deserted place or a wilderness were the dwelling places of evil spirits. Initially, the text wants to point out that the city would face such destruction that it would be rendered uninhabitable, much like a ghost town. This is precisely what happened to ancient Babylon, the original prototype, the ancient city of Mesopotamia and modern-day Iraq. Its king Nebuchadnezzar made her a legendary city, one of the wonders of the ancient world, a great and mighty empire. In reality, the ancient Babylon serves as a type, as a model of every city that emulates her misconduct. The ancient Babylon became a dwelling place of every unclean spirit. Now, this can bring up the question regarding many archaeological sites. We have many ancient cities, many ancient sites who were deserted and covered over by different landscapes and civilizations. We can hardly ever even pinpoint the exact location of some of these ancient cities. Are these places necessarily the dwelling place of demons? The truth is that many Christian ascetics and hermits found legions of demons nestled in their deserted castles, or if under the surface there would be temples of idolatry, or if these locations were used for orgiastic rituals of idolatry. These places of excessive orgiastic idolatrous activity bequeath certain rights of possession to the demonic spirits. This has been confirmed numerous times by our ascetics. The Desert Fathers would often venture into an abandoned castle or walls of an abandoned city, and if an ancient temple of idols was nearby, there was a plethora of demons. It is also possible for demons to dwell in a man and even in his bones after he departs this life, which is terrible. As terrifying as this may be, and perhaps unacceptable to the minds of many, it is well documented in the lives of the ascetics. An ascetic, for example, lay down in a desert to rest. It was dark, and he saw a round object which he tried to use as a pillow. He soon realized that his pillow was a human skull, and its hosts did not let him get much rest. He was informed by the skull dwellers that this skull belonged to one of their beloved servants, to one of the priests of the idols. The demons had jurisdiction over the relics of this deceased man, and they nestled inside his skull. Forced by the grace of God, they revealed this information to the holy ascetic. Now we can get a better sense of what St. John says about Babylon being a dwelling place of demons and every unclean bird. In reality, there are no unclean birds. Crows and vultures are not unclean as they are creatures of God. This pertains to the law of the Old Testament. According to the law of Moses, these animals were considered unclean because their menu mainly consists of dead flesh and decomposed matter. They are not ontologically unclean, but canonically, according to the law of Moses. Thus we could say that a place can become desolate after excessive activity of idolatry and licentiousness. This desolation can also be understood metaphorically, and a place can become desolate from the grace of God. For example, the Temple of Solomon after the crucifixion became desolate when the curtain of the temple was rent in two from top to bottom, and that was a clear indication